Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Rik Fox Story. Once again, we have with us our good friend Rik Fox. Now, Rik, since the last time we spoke, it's been about 5 months, and that's because a little bit's been going on in your life. You want to let people know what's been going on with you?
Well, thanks for having me back, Jason. I can't believe it was 5 months.
Yeah.
Where does the time go?
Yeah.
Well, since my wife passed, I'm just trying to keep the house going and take care of everything and like that.
Yeah, that's part of the reason it has been so long is because, when somebody goes through something like that, it's of course very difficult. And I was sure, okay, he's not going to want to talk about this, right away. You got to give the poor guy some time to, grieve. So if you don't mind me asking, had your wife been sick, or did it kind of come on all of a sudden?
Well, that's the $64,000 question.
Yeah.
Back in 2015, I think it was. She was diagnosed. She felt she was falsely diagnosed with breast cancer while we were still in California.
Yeah.
And when she was younger, she had fibroids in her right breast, which were taken out.
Oh, wow.
And anybody who knows about that subject knows that fibroids show up as like a false flag for cancer.
Oh, okay.
So she had them taken out, and then, she was fine. And come 2015, she had her examination, and they said that she's got a breast cancer, and that they were coercing her heavily into getting on the whole chemo mastectomy assembly line.
Oh, wow.
Radiation treatment. And in California, if you can't afford your bill,
yeah,
with Obamacare, they'll come and take everything, your house, everything you own. They'll take. You got any dreams? They'll take that too.
Yeah.
So she said we're gonna see if we can address this holistically. And there's an organization in Arizona that has been known to cure some forms of cancer with high doses of vitamin C.
Wow.
But massive doses of vitamin C have been known to stop some forms of cancer. But that's also expensive as well.
Yeah.
So we met some people from who are involved with a multi-million-dollar health and wellness program that comes out of Arizona, I believe it is.
Okay.
And they get a lot of their vitamins and minerals from New Zealand. It's a great program. It's a great product, but you're not allowed legally to make any medical claims because you just can't.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, we got on the product, and both she and I dropped a whole ton of weight.
Wow.
After me being fat shamed in Facebook by a lot of haters.
Wow.
I lost about 30, 40 pounds, I lost my gut. She got real trim and fit. She had muscles. She was working out.
Yeah.
And 5 years later, she says, "Look at me, honey. I should have been dead 5 years ago. I beat cancer."
Oh, wow.
And so we were both in pretty good shape. And then during our trips back and forth from California to Missouri, across all of those states, while we were house hunting, her right arm swelled up a little bit, like an edema.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, well, the lymph gland is right there in the armpit.
Yeah.
Just above the breast. But I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you're thinking that. Yeah, to yourself.
That was my fear.
Yeah.
And then her right breast had metastasized itself, and so she had she said she was going to address it and do something about it.
Yeah.
And like that, and she was going to a chiropractor for her back because her bones hurt. When we first got here in March of 2021. There was a big snowstorm, and she was out behind the house after this is all over with.
Okay.
And she slipped and fell. I didn't know she was out there by herself. She slipped and fell and landed on her spine.
Wow. Yeah.
And so that left her with residual pain. So she was limited some of her movement, but she was pretty active as much as possible.
Yeah.
By April of this year, 2022. She picked up a nagging cough, and she thought maybe she had pneumonia. We said it wasn't COVID because we don't really go out anywhere, so we're not mingling that much. And she could still smell and taste, so it wasn't COVID.
Okay.
And she started to experience shortness of breath. She couldn't breathe deeply.
Wow.
So she went to the hospital and she got on an IV drip because she thought she was dehydrated as well. And the doctor examined her and said, ma'am, you have cervical cancer. I'm going to have to recommend a hysterectomy. And she's like, what?
Wow.
She essentially told him to go pound sand. She wouldn't believe him.
Wow.
And I'm looking at the paperwork and it said she had cervical cancer. So whatever was in her body may have swung back around and reignited something, for lack of a better description. And went from her breast to her cervix. And she was experiencing a lot of pain and discomfort and trying to just lay down at night, like to go to sleep.
Wow.
Her left side, the bones hurt. Her right side, the bones hurt. And it's really hard to encapsulate this, and I really don't want to give out
No. Yeah, I got you.
Personal information, but the doctors she was also getting jaundice. Her skin was turning yellow.
Oh, wow.
And her personality was changing.
Wow.
The bright, outgoing
person you knew,
positive person was starting to get a little bit more pessimistic and short with her temper and like that. And
that happens.
I was taking care of her like 24/7 around the clock.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't, after a while, she couldn't get out of bed. That. And so after about a week and a half, if she came home after the antibiotics ran out, it seemed like it came back again. It was getting worse, and her condition was deteriorating. And I had told her, she was sitting up in the bed, and I said, "Don't move, don't. I'll be right back." 2 seconds, I'll be right back. And then don't sit close to the edge of the bed like that, and I moved her in a little bit so she was away from the edge of the bed. I mean, I wasn't out of the room for 30 seconds tops, and I heard her gasping for air.
Oh, wow.
I ran into the room, and she must have had either a seizure of some kind or a stroke or something, because she was gripping the muscles with her hands and her arms and moving her jaw from side to side, and her eyes were wide open.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's...
I'm talking to her, and I'm not getting any response. So I called 911, and an ambulance came, and I followed them down there to the hospital, and she had a whole team of people swarming around her, and all these different IV bags and everything, and they ran some more tests on her, and the doctors, and by now I had her cousin on the phone. Her cousin's a doctor here in Missouri, so she understands all the medical lingo. Doctor said her numbers are not compatible with survivability.
Oh, wow.
He said if she had taken care of this cancer, years ago, 2015, whatever you said it was, there's a chance she might be alive right now.
Oh, wow.
I mean, survive it. He says it's so aggressive through her body right now. It's in her liver, it's in her bones, which is now explains why her bones hurt. It was in her bones. It was going up to her head, her brain. That's why she was slurring her words. And she told me, she goes, "I'm going to fight this, whatever it is. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving you. I promise I'm not leaving you." And I guess God saw differently.
Well, that would explain too the changes in the temperament, besides being in awful pain. But when you're not getting enough oxygen to the brain and stuff, it really affects everything. And that's the thing with cancer is oftentimes people will be told, you had cancer, but you're in remission, it's cleared up, and then they find out, there's a little tiny spot that we didn't see on the x-ray, and it's kind of spread to other parts now. That's usually kind of a sad state of affairs. Well, we're sorry to obviously we're sorry to hear that you went through that, Rick, but we don't need to really talk too much about it, but I just thought it, you might want to talk about, let people know what you've been doing.
Thank you, Jason. I'm still grieving, and that's where I'm going, and there's no rules and laws that govern grieving.
No,
and I'm just trying to adjust now because she's not here.
And of course, and the only other thing I'll say to you regarding this before we move on the conversation is that I remember seeing because you kind of document all this on Facebook and stuff. That's how people first learned that your wife had passed, and that's kind of a very personal thing to kind of share with people. But also the other thing, I just could not believe seeing that you also had to experience some of these so-called haters, whatever you want to call them, kind of saying what they were saying. I mean, what awful people. I don't know how people can attack somebody who's grieving for just losing their wife. I mean, it's just amazing people like that even exist in the world.
Yeah, it wasn't so much that I was being attacked, like per se.
Yeah.
Tara had made friends with some women online who were part of some various paranormal groups and things like that. And these women seemed to have gotten a wrong impression and think that they were allowing themselves into her life beyond her personal boundaries.
Oh, wow. Yeah, people.
And a couple of them had actually made very, very mean and false accusations that I wasn't taking care of my wife and I was being mean to her.
Oh, wow.
And these people, other friends of ours, saw what they were doing and took them to task and chastised them for saying those things to me.
Well, good for those other friends, because I will say this, you never know until you've walked 1,000 miles in somebody else's shoes. Yeah.
Well, right when she was passing, we're in a hospital. Ron Keel had called to offer his sympathies. And then a few weeks later, Jack Russell from Great White called, because essentially I met Tara through Great White, through Jack.
Yeah, wow.
And I've told that story many times. And so he called to offer his condolences because he was a dear friend of ours. And then on September 3rd, my phone rang, and it was Chris Holmes calling me from France.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because, his wife, Kathy Sarah, was good friends with Tara. And so, we hung out at the NAMM show and whatnot. And Chris, as a lot of people know, he's a cancer survivor. He's just coming out of that.
Yeah.
So Chris offered his condolences. And out of curiosity, he said, if you don't mind my asking, he goes, first of all, I'm really sorry about your old lady passing away. And I feel bad for you. And he goes, but can you talk to me about it? Because, I'm just going through cancer. So, we swapped kind of cancer stories, about that. And of course, after that, the conversation turned to WASP. And we discussed both of our times in WASP.
Yeah.
Chris it was just awesome of him to do that. I've been monitoring his condition and wishing them well every chance I got, or whenever his wife Kathy would post an update on Chris, I would run and share it with the WASP groups, so the fans would know what Chris's condition was in at that point. So hopefully, maybe if he can get over here to the States. Next March, maybe we can see if we can hopefully get him to the Rock and Pod convention, if that's possible. I told him about it. He was interested. So
he seems like he's doing better now. Seems to have beat the cancer, we hope. And he looks like he lost a lot of weight. So whatever, good for him. But,
So Chris said he was interested in knowing what Rock and Pod was. He wasn't familiar with it.
Yeah.
So I put him in touch with Chris Chinchak, who's the main promoter who puts that on, and I said, here, Chris is interested in knowing what Rock and Pod is. So you two guys talk about it, and let's knock on wood, and hopefully something cool will come out of that. So no promises. But
who knows?
It's just we just hope for the best and see what happens from there. And that's kind of, I guess, brings us up to speed to now.
Yeah. Okay. So the other thing you mentioned, your good friendship with Jack Russell. We've talked about that over the course of doing this in a couple of these episodes. But I wanted to ask you, when how long have you known Jack? I was curious, when Great White was just starting out, did you know him? Did you get a chance to hang out with him and the rest of the guys in Great White back then?
Right after I was out of WASP, It was still 1982, summer 82, and I didn't really know that many people. I'm trying to network. We didn't have internet back then.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I was doing the best I could to kind of meet people and get my name out there. And I was a bass player from New York looking for a gig. And Jack had come over with one of the guys in the band. And we talked, and nothing really came out of it. But that was my first personal one-on-one encounter with Jack at the time. And then, years went by, and, they went up and coming and started selling records and became a successful band, a famous band. One night a few years later, I'm standing outside the Roxy, and I was probably around 85-ish, maybe.
Okay.
86, and I was wearing this almost full-length custom designer leather trench coat. And Jack was walking into the Roxy, and he saw me wearing that. And he turns right around and he goes, I'll give you $400 for that jacket, that coat, right now.
Wow.
I said, no, I just got it. It's brand new. He goes, well, if you ever think of, we want to part with it, let me know. And I said, all right, I will do that. Jump ahead now. to the last, well, we were still living in California before we, like 2018 or 19. Jack was performing at the MS benefit downtown
MS
LA.
Rock. I know you mean.
Yeah. And he had Tara and I as his guests, so we went down there, and I brought him the coat, and I showed it to him, and I said, if you're still interested, like that, and he says, I'm trying to work through some other financial situations right now. He goes, I still am interested in it. He goes, give me a couple of weeks, like that, or something like that. I said, all right, fine. And then Tara and I talked about it, and she goes, you know what? Jack's always been a real sweetheart. She goes, how often do you wear that coat? And I said, well, not that often. She goes, why don't you just give it to him?
Yeah.
I went, you know what? That's a great idea.
How cool is that? Yeah.
And I said to Jack, we want to come and see. I'm going to bring the coat down. And he invited us onto his boat.
Wow.
Before he sold his boat, right? I don't know if it was Huntington Beach or something like that. He had his boat.
I think Redondo Beach or something like that.
Yeah, Redondo, something like that. And so we went down there. We got on his boat, and he had a little barbecue. It was just Jack and one of his assistants, I guess, and Tara and I, And I took the coat and I said, Jack, it's yours.
Wow.
He goes, what do you mean? He goes, I said, it's yours. Keep it.
Wow.
He goes, you're just giving it to me? I said, yeah, I know you've always wanted it, so I really, I don't need the money, and so here, I'm just kidding. And he put the coat on, and Tara took that famous picture of him hugging me.
Wow, and all these years later, that's cool.
He gave me this huge hug, and he, his eyes watered up. He started to, the tears run down his cheeks, and I said, I felt something inside. It's hard to explain, like there was a reward of some kind.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you, I've never met Jack Russell face to face. I've had the pleasure of talking to him a couple times over the phone like this, and I've always found him to be a super cool, down to earth guy. I mean, even at one point, like he was telling me, "Hey man, anytime you want to interview me, you've got the number. You just feel free to call me up or whatever." And I think I told you this similar story before, where I reached out to the other band, like when he was first let go from a band or whatever, and I just tried to see if they wanted to do an interview too, and they're like, oh well, what's your readership? We only do interviews like with big sites. And then over the course of the years since Jack's been out of Great White, I've read interviews like Mark Kindle's always getting asked, would you ever consider reuniting with Jack? Oh no, man, Jack's not the same man anymore. I'd rather remember him the way he is, and I just don't understand why those guys, when they had success together, they would not even consider that. Because let's be honest, Jack Russell is the voice of Great White, if you know what I mean. And besides all that, I mean, they're on their fourth singer since Jack Russell's left. So, at this point, I think it's almost a joke. I mean, they had Andrew Freeman, from Last in Line for a while, but he's no longer in the band. So I don't know what's going on with that band.
Well, and it's public knowledge that Jack and Mark both had gone through substance alcohol issues over the years, and they're both clean and sober for umpteen years now, and I congratulate both of them. I'm friends with both of them.
Well, that's cool too.
I don't get in the middle of anything.
No, that's good. That's the way to be. That's the way it should be.
So and then like I said, Jack was the reason that I met Tamara, my wife, because. He was hanging out or playing at a club that she had gone to one night, and he was sitting at the bar, and he goes, "Hi, I'm Jack Russell," and she goes, "Yeah, and."
Yeah.
She wasn't impressed by guys in bands whatsoever. He says, "Well, I'm with Great White." She goes, "Oh yeah, I like you guys." And he goes, "Well, I'm playing the Troubadour next week. Would you come and see our band play?" She goes, "So if you put me on the list, I'll come."
Wow.
And he says, "All right," and he did. He actually put her on the list. And I had gotten to the club. I hadn't met her yet. And it was in between. It was intermission between bands, and I walked into the anybody knows the Troubadour. I walked into the main room, and at that point, for whatever reason, the crowd just parted. It was like this big open gap.
Parting of the seas. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, and Tara come walking up on my right side, and something I never do. I looked over and I went hi, and I looked at her first, and I kept walking.
Yeah.
And she stopped. I walked towards the bar. She told her girlfriend, she goes, "I know him." She goes, "What do you mean you know him? You never met him before." She goes, "No, I know him, like from another life. I know him. I know his eyes."
Oh, wow.
She goes, "That's the guy I'm going to marry."
Wow, isn't that?
Just like a Hollywood romance. She said, "That's the guy I'm going to marry."
Oh, wow. So
we met eventually, and dated loosely off and on once in a while here and there through the 80s and then into the 90s, but nothing really clicked yet.
Yeah.
Until like 2000, when she called me up one day out of the clear blue. I'd already moved from one apartment to another in Valley Village, not Valley Village, Sherman Oaks, and she said, you just popped into my head. Well, I said, where are you? She goes, I'm on the Hollywood Freeway. And I said, well, do you want to come over? She says, yeah. And she was at my house in like 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
She was by Highland, and she was on the 101 by Highland. I was by, I want to say, Coldwater and Burbank Boulevard.
Oh, wow.
For anybody who knows. She was there like in a snap.
So, Rick, let me ask you, jumping ahead a little, did you ask her, or did she ask you as far as getting married? Or was there an engagement, or just...
what I'm saying is I buzzed her in, and she shows up at my door, and I thought it was... She didn't even look the same as I remembered her from years before that.
Wow.
She looked like she went through a transformation. She looked like a cross between Jennifer Aniston and Lita Ford.
Oh, wow.
Standing in my doorway.
Yeah.
So we started dating, more heavily.
Yeah.
This is August of 2000 now. So within about a month or so, I asked her if she wanted to move in. So we were now living together in my apartment in Valley Village. And it wasn't until 2009 we got married. It was October 1st, 2009.
Oh, wow. Well, when it's...
We were together all those years.
Yeah.
And then up until she passed away, we were together for 22 years. We were never without each other for 22 years.
Well, I mean, that's got to make it extra hard, I mean, it's like...
So it was Jack, because Jack put her on the guest list. She was at the Troubadour, and I walked out, so I told Jack, you're responsible for us meeting.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great story as far as giving him a jacket. It's kind of a huge, thank you,
Yeah. So, and that's my story about how we met and
wow, what a great story. Now, let me ask you one more thing about Jack Russell. What did you think of that video I sent you to check out the other day? The one of him and Terry Lewis doing a cover of a Tom Petty song, "I Won't Back Down."
You have two incredible singers.
Yeah.
They'll do a knockout job. I mean, it's an amazing piece of work.
It's really a cool song to cover. I mean, it's not the most obvious choice, but what really amazes me about the song and the video, those two guys, I mean, both being ex-Great White singers, I think it's cool how they become such good friends, because that's not the first thing they've done. They've done a couple live shows together, I think at the Monsters of Rock a couple years back. They have a show coming up this week, and what's amazing is their voices together just mesh so beautifully. I wish that they would do more things like that together.
It would be nice if more artists got together and did stuff, like that. But on a different level, some of us have, we did with the Jim Crean thing.
Yeah.
Where Jim has all these A-list stars and whatnot playing on his products, his albums, but we don't all get together in a room and play together. We don't perform together. And
it's not the same as, I mean, that's the way they did it back in the day. Back in the 70s, 80s, you'd all show up to the same studio. But for a lot of reasons, they do like that, and especially when you live so far away and you're not right down the street in Sherman Oaks anymore. That's how you do it. And when I know but I interviewed Jim recently for his new album Scream Taker, and he was mentioning you along with names like Robbie Lochner and Vinny Appice, and so he was saying what great players you guys all were, and so I think that's pretty cool.
It's great to be on a product like that with so many great talent, that all this talent comes to the table. So I'm glad to be part of that. It's a humbling thing. It's a privilege. It's an honor, and it's nice to be able to be included in the same table with all of those that kind of talent. So
yeah, and then you've also talked in the past about your relationship, or your friendship at least, with Nikki Sixx, and talking about Chris Holmes for a little bit. He recently came out telling people how when first came out he had cancer. Not even Blackie Lawless offered to do anything to help him, but he says Nikki Sixx, of all people, I hadn't talked to a guy in years. He reached out to me all on his own. He donated some money for my cancer treatment. What a cool guy,
Yeah, it was. Well, Nikki's always been like that. had. He used to give me his hand-me-down costumes and his old amps and stuff when he didn't need them anymore. When they got more budgets for better material, better material, but costuming, better budgets for costuming and their stage gear. So he'd call me up and say, "Hey Rick, my stuff is there over at such and such SIR Studios. If you want it, it's yours. Go get it." I already told him.
Oh wow!
So Dicky's always been generous like that.
And talking about Motley Crue, it just came out that Mick Mars has announced his retirement from touring. What do you think about it? I mean, there's not much to think because he's got his health issues. But I mean, what do you think about Motley Crue? Carrying on without him.
Those are hard decisions. It's not really my place to.
No, not your place. I mean,
have an opinion on, but.
I could kind of see the hot rumor right now is that John 5 might be the new guitar, and I'd say of all the people, I think he'll fit in nice with Motley Crue.
I think they're looking at John 5 to replace Mick.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think John 5. I mean, he's a pretty good pick because no matter what, he's an awesome guitar player, a great songwriter. But I think he's one dude that would fit in with Motley Crue nice.
I guess like Eric Carr joining Kiss or Vinnie Vincent, you have to create a whole new character.
Yeah. It's hard to believe that coming up this November, Eric Carr is gonna be dead like almost 30 years.
Yeah, it has been a while, hasn't it? Where does the time go?
Yeah, where does the time go? I don't know. So I think you shared me that you knew Eric Carr a little, or how well did you know him?
Well, we have some connections that go back into New York. He played with a band, or one of his girlfriends played in a band that one of my guitar players was a guitar player for out on Long Island.
Yeah.
As we say, Long Island. And then when he was outside the backstage area of the Palladium in New York.
Okay.
He was rehearsing with Kiss.
Okay, yeah, that's the first show he did, yeah.
Yeah, for his first show with Kiss. And so I walked up, and my friend was standing there talking to him. And he says, "Hey, Eric, I want you to meet my friend, my good friend. This is Rik Fox."
Wow.
And I put my hand out to shake his hand, and he looks at me, he goes, "Rik Fox, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, that's a cool name."
Yeah.
I said, "Thank you."
Eric Fox, yeah.
And at that point, though, we have to remember his character wasn't a fox yet; it was a hawk.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He was like some bird hawk character.
Yeah.
But within 2 or 3 days after that, was their show. Their first in 1980 was their first show at the Palladium with Eric.
Yeah.
And his character was a fox suddenly.
Yeah. They changed it up. I remember that. Yeah.
So when Eric and I were hanging out at the Roxy watching Steeler before I was in the band, obviously. I mentioned to him. I said, "You took your character from my name, didn't you?" and he didn't come out and say yes, but
he didn't say no.
You get that twinkle in your eye, that smile.
Yeah.
That like he was saying yes without saying yes.
Is that kind of like the twinkle Dana Strum had in his eyes when you realized that he stole your song?
That's a different kind of twinkle.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
That's a big difference kind of twinkle.
Yeah.
But at any rate, and then Eric had asked me if I had dated a girl that we knew, this girl named Bambi. And I said, yeah. He goes, "Are you still seeing her?" I said, "No, we're just good friends."
Yeah.
He says, "Can you introduce me to her?"
Wow.
I said, "Sure." And I think she may have been at the club at that night. I don't remember, but I do remember introducing Eric to Bambi.
Wow.
And eventually, Bambi wound up becoming the model on the cover of the Poison album, "Open Up and Say Ah."
Oh, wow.
With the tongue, and then she's all red-faced.
Okay, wow.
That's my friend Bambi. Now, none of that would have happened had fate not intervened.
Yeah. Well, wow.
A couple of years, a year or so before that, after I was at a WASP, I was staying with some girls on Clark Street.
Okay.
I may have told you about this. The apartment that was next door to Nikki Sixx.
Okay. Yeah.
And there were several girls who or I guess you might say escorts.
Okay, yeah, we got you.
Yeah, and while I was at that apartment, Bambi was in. It was like a big, huge 2-bedroom apartment. This girl Roxy, it was her apartment.
Okay.
Bambi was in the bathroom taking a bath. I was in like the other side of the apartment, but yet we're talking to each other through the space between the rooms.
Okay, yeah.
And I did not realize that she had taken a Quaalude.
Oh, wow.
For anybody who remembers what those were.
Yeah.
And I was talking to her and she didn't answer. And I asked her again and she didn't answer. So I ran into the bathroom and what happened was she slid under the water and there was bubbles coming up.
Oh, wow.
You know,
yeah.
Like she's pulling a Whitney Houston there.
Yeah.
And I quick pulled her up out of the water, you know, she's coughing and like that. And I covered her with a towel on the bed and I kind of shook her a little bit and she came to. And she's like, "Oh, you saved my life! Thank you so much."
Oh, wow.
She was, you know, bit of a Quaalude studio.
That's a night I bet you both remember forever.
So, yeah, well, I was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And if I hadn't been there,
who knows?
then she never would have met Eric Carr, and she never would have been the model on the cover of the Poison album.
Yeah, you know, and going all the way back to that Poison album. I mean, that was about 1988 when that record came out, and I remember, I don't know why, but I remember the big controversy over an album cover, just over the tongue and all that, and then they altered the album cover. I'm like, how stupid, the original. And then, of course, it makes the album cover like become a collector's item, and then years later, they re-released the original album cover anyways.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was in the right place at the right time. So.
Yeah, and now another thing I want to talk about with you today, Rick, about you've been in a number of tribute bands over the last couple of years. So I know probably the one you were in the longest was the Deep Purple tribute. So let's talk a little bit about that and how you got that gig and how long you were with the band and everything.
Okay, so what happened with that is I was already playing with the big UFO tribute band called Strangers in the Night.
Okay.
And I replaced their bass player, and they had some problems with the guy. So I came in and I replaced him, and they were called Strangers in the Night. I mean, about all of the cool song titles they could have used for a band name.
Yeah.
They called because they did the entire live album "Strangers in the Night."
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay, yeah.
So we did the whole album front to back.
Yeah.
Like that, and so I was playing with them. We did doing some shows, and then on one of the show bills coming up, I saw on the ad it said with Child in Time, and then there was several other bands on the. Yeah. There was a club in Sherman Oaks. I think it was called Petey's Place.
Okay.
And I went over and I went, Deep Purple, huh? Well, I'm a big fan of Deep Purple. Yeah. So I went over and looked at their Facebook page. And I saw there was a picture of their singer, Donald Dean. I went, wow, he kind of looks a little like Ian Gillan,
Yeah. Better days.
Prime Purple era,
Yeah.
Like that. And I went saw some of their videos on YouTube or wherever on their Facebook.
Yeah.
But these guys are pretty good. So I guess I did something that a lot of other bands were not doing at the time. I can't speak for other bands, but I haven't seen anyone do this. And I took, I put them in the ad with us. I was saying, hey, this band is going to be on the same bill with us. They're really cool. Why don't you come in? A double British bill. British hard rock.
Yeah.
Like that. And Donald saw that.
Wow.
He thought that I was sharing their ads. They were going to be on the bill on the show list. So Donald reached out and got in touch with me. And he said, thank you for putting us in your ads. That's pretty cool of you.
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm a big Deep Purple fan. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys.
Wow. Yeah.
He goes, would you mind coming to jam with us? I said, sure. So he booked some time at Nightingale Studios over in Burbank. And I did a quick woodshed at home. I learned 8 Deep Purple songs really quick.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm doing when I walk in the door, because I hadn't played Deep Purple stuff in forever.
Yeah.
So I show up, we jam, we played 8 songs, we got along really well, And then they asked me if I could kind of get out of the room.
Yeah.
I said, oh, you want to go talk about me behind my back? Okay. So I go outside, and a few minutes later, Donald comes out and he says, listen, we got a bunch of gigs booked, and we're having a problem with our bass player. I said, here it comes again.
Yeah.
I essentially knew what asking me to come jam with them was going to end up as.
Yeah.
I already knew, You don't just ask somebody to come and jam with you like that. So.
Hey, at this point, Rick, do any of the guys know about your history with Ron Keel or Wasp or any of that, or did they learn that later?
I think Donald was the only other guy in the band who was like a seasoned veteran performer.
Okay.
He was a recording artist. He had already released product in Japan.
Oh, wow.
You know, like that. So he was charting in Japan. So, you know, he looked me up. He looked up, you know, my background. And I guess, and told the guitar player, Steven Thatcher, he said, hey, Rick's he's got like a, you know, a nice level, star quality resume. He's got a good resume. This guy's been around.
Yeah.
You know, so they said, well, call him up and have it. So I went and jammed with him. And they came out and asked me if I would do some shows with them. He says, we'll pay you.
Oh,
you know, he says, we've already got shows committed. They're booked. And like that, and so we just kind of have a problem with our bass player and like that. And went, all right, fine. And I went, and so I think it was the first or second show I did with them. It was the first show. I did a double bill. I played with Child in Time
and Strangers in the Night.
And during the break when they were switching over, I went to the dressing room, changed my clothes, and I came back out, and I was playing with Strangers in the Night.
Okay, now here's a question. Did you see any people that were in the audience to see both sets? Like, did anybody realize, hey, that's the same bass player from the previous band?
Oh yeah, they do. It was pretty obvious.
No, I know. It's kind of funny, like unless you're really paying attention, maybe. You know?
Yeah, but it was like either I'm not playing at all, or now I'm playing with two bands at once on the same bill on the same night.
So on an energy level, what's that like? I mean, you must have been exhausted.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's two different types of bands.
Oh yeah.
You know, UFO is even UFO had keyboards in them.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like John Lord with a Hammond.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't like Uriah Heep with Ken Hensley and a Hammond B3. It was lighter keyboards, but the arrangements are a little more rock and rolly. You know, easier arrangements, I guess you might say.
It's funny you say that because I tell people, you know, who say like keyboards suck and don't belong in rock music. I say, well, you put on any Deep Purple album and listen to what John Lord, and then you tell me that.
Yeah, and then Deep Purple, like the other band, Uriah Heep, my other favorite.
Yeah.
It's a heavier keyboard intensity, and after there's a guitar solo, well, now the keyboard player has to have a solo, so the songs are twice as long. Yeah. And that's time out of the singer's performance time. He's got to kind of stand around on the side of the stage. Well, after the guitar player does a solo, now the keyboard player does a solo. So the songs are longer. It's more of Deep Purple's like a thinking man's hard rock.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
The arrangements are a lot more complex than UFO.
Yeah. I would
so it was a really good experience for me to do both. And I'm also portraying several different eras of Deep Purple bass players.
Yeah.
You had
Roger Clever,
Nicky Simper on Hush, the first early Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Then you had Roger Glover. Then you have Glenn Hughes.
Yeah.
So we spanned a whole wide spectrum of Deep Purple's material.
Yeah. Oh,
and it was a lot of fun. My last show with them, we co-headlined the Whiskey.
Wow.
And it was pretty packed crowd, and we did really well. They loved everything we did. Donald's an excellent frontman. He knows how to interact with the audience real well. Steve, the guitar player, Steve Thatcher. He's a music teacher at Cal State Northridge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so the guy's actually a professor.
Now, a lot of times, Rick, when I talk to people, there's a lot of snobbery out there when it comes to talking about tribute bands. As you know, I've supported a lot of tribute bands over years as far as interviewing guys that play in the band, because to me, a lot of the tribute bands, it's almost like, I call it rock and roll theater. A lot of the bands you'll go see, and not only do they got the music, down, but they actually dress the part, they look the part, and a lot of these guys are so good. There's this Guns N' Roses tribute band I've seen, and I swear, a guy looks like Axl Rose from 1987, looks that good. You almost swear to God it's Guns N' Roses, and they got the music down. It's just that good.
I understand what you're saying about the snobbery between bands and about tribute bands and whatnot. A lot of those bands from the 80s, they're getting older, and they don't have as much of an extensive touring schedule as their fans would like them to. So if you can't see the real thing, then you see something that's the next best thing to the real thing.
And when I say snobbery, I guess I mean just among fans and stuff like that. Because I talk to people, and a couple people ask, well, why do you interview guys that play in tribute bands? They're playing other people's music. I said, well, first of all, it takes a certain level of talent to even do that. I mean, I can't get up on stage. I can't play a musical lick. So anybody that can, I got a certain level of respect for,
Well, especially, I echo that. Especially after the stupidity of all this COVID nonsense, shutting everything down and shutting down clubs and the ability to get out and play. It's said that a performing musician is a happy musician, and at some point, even if you're not doing anything, if you're doing a tribute, at least you're still playing.
Yeah, I think you said you left California around 2019 or 2018, right before COVID hit. And
no, it was 2020.
Oh, 2020, because I tell you, the thing about that, especially our governor here, Gavin Newsom, I mean, he was one of these guys that shut everything down. I mean, you could not even go, here, I live in Long Beach, California, could not even, like a lot of places, could not even go to a movie theater. And so they had a little club down the street from where I live called the Gas Lamp, and they actually started having these movie nights where they'd have a big screen on, out in the parking lot, and people would come and pay and get dinner and watch a movie. I mean, they were doing stuff like that here in California just so people could get out. But then, had the governor get up on TV and kind of bragging about, oh, we may close down all these movie theaters. Music, there may not be any live concerts anymore. We're going to close all this down. I'm like, how could you be bragging about that, And luckily it never came to that, though. People didn't quite allow that. Yeah.
That's the insanity of California. It's not it's not our daddy's California anymore, and it's like a shadow of its former self.
Yeah, it really is.
Just like the LA music scene is not the same anymore. The Sunset Strip is pretty much dead.
I mean, it's funny. Yeah, it's funny you say it because the two big places to go, I think, if you're a musician these days, is either Nashville. They call that Music City, and Las Vegas. I mean, I talked to some guys that moved to Las Vegas, and they tell me you just can go in a casino and find a gig and stuff, and there's a lot more places. But
it's not as easy as that. It's a little oversimplifying, but the stigma that I found with Vegas, not to put Vegas down, but I've been there many times. But it seems like since a lot of people, it started with all-star tributes going on in Vegas in the clubs, so a whole slew of people started up and relocating to Vegas. A lot of people from Hollywood and from LA went to Vegas, and they brought the Vegas virus, not Vegas, the LA virus with them.
Yeah, like even Gene Simmons is living in Las Vegas now. I went recently, about a month ago, to Las Vegas, and I went to see his Kiss museum. If you're a Kiss fan, it's a pretty cool thing to see, but from what they were telling me there, he lives not too far from there.
Yeah, I hear that. What I'm referring to is the whole mentality and attitude of LA.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All the drama and the pettiness and all of the backstabbing, all of that plasticity that was California wound its way to becoming the virus in Vegas. And it's just that whole the club mentality. Yeah, and all of the pettiness that went with it, I had seen started to evolve out of Vegas. Yeah. I can't speak for Nashville. I know that place became a haven long before it was hip to where it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it started out as a country place, but like in the last couple of years, I heard Bret Michaels has a ranch there. Vince Neil lives there. Mick Mars, I think, lives there.
Yeah, Mark Slaughter. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Billy Sheehan moved to Nashville. A lot of the rockers have moved there, and it's like there's so many people there now. Even if I was to consider moving there, I don't know. I'd have to be like starting over again, and at my age, that's really tough.
Yeah. Okay. So, getting back to the tribute band. So you were in those two, and then I remember. I don't know how long. If it was just for a couple one-off shows, but you also done a Montrose tribute. Talk a little bit about that. I think it was called Bad Motor Scooter.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Montrose from the first album. Yeah. I may be dating myself, but at least people who know that know what that means. And I love playing the Montrose material. Always have. And it's like one of my go-to practice sessions. So I have our whole set list of the Montrose songs that I'll sit down and I can just breeze through those just to keep my chops up. And the whole first Montrose album is about 32 minutes long. Wow. So that's about your your average set time for a band anyway on stage. Anyway, so I put together a set list and I paced it so that it starts out strong, kind of comes down a little bit, and it goes back up, and it finishes strong, and it has really good pacing. I'm pretty good with putting set lists together. So it's the whole first Montrose album. It's a couple of songs, a few songs off of Paper Money, like I Got the Fire.
That's my favorite off that, yeah.
But several songs off of Paper Money. And then because it's Ronnie Montrose, we added a song from Gamma.
Okay.
Which was one of Ronnie's later projects. It was called, I think it was not the Mariner. It was the song about the Voyager.
Okay.
Voyager.
Okay.
I mean, that's playing that song. I got to tell you, raises the hairs on my arms.
Wow.
It's a very emotionally moving song for me to play.
Wow. Because
the way it was structured and written and captured, it just does that. And then we finish with a bunch of Sammy Hagar songs because, like you said, certain singers are the voice of certain bands. Yeah, Sammy Hagar was the voice of Montrose.
Oh wow!
So we have heavy metal and Can't Drive 55 and like that. Sammy's heavier songs. And I had Shane Hunter on guitar. Shane was out of Ohio, and he was at LA scene for a while. And we, like the movie Rockstar, it's Steel Dragon. How they would always argue about playing it just like it is on the record.
Yeah.
We played the Montrose songs as close as humanly possible as you could. The album versions.
Wow.
I mean, we did Space Station number 5. It sounded like the record, like and all that. So we did that as a tribute to Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah.
And then there are some I guess A-list stars or whatever that put on a Ronnie Montrose tribute every other year or so, every year.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get on that, and they just would let us on for whatever reason. I don't know why, but they didn't want to open their doors to allow us on there to do their
well, from a little bit I know about that, because the guy that used to put it on is Keith St. John. He's the singer. He was the last singer to play with Ronnie Montrose, and he's the singer they now have in Kingdom Come. And so that was his event. From what I understand, what they would do is they would get a group of different groups of people. They get a singer and a drummer play this song and that song, and they have other people play different Montrose songs throughout the night, and that's kind of what that was. And but the funny thing, you bring that up because when Ronnie Montrose at first died, and the first year they put on a tribute by somebody else. It was like a big tribute. They invited all these big stars, like a Ronnie Montrose tribute concert, and people got up and they played these different songs together. And I got a DVD then. They wanted me to review it, and watching the DVD, what I came to realize is, of course, when we think of Montrose, we think of those first two Montrose albums because those are the ones with Sammy Hagar. But if you dig into the Montrose catalog, the stuff that he did after Sammy Hagar, there's music that we're maybe not aware of, but I was just discovering for the first time, never heard it before, and I thought, wow, it's amazing. I wasn't aware that Ronnie Montrose put out all this other music,
Yeah. Well, in the 70s, I saw Montrose on a bill with Black Oak, Arkansas, and Foghat.
Oh, wow, what a bill.
Beacon Theater. Foghat was headlining. Montrose opened, Black Oak, Arkansas was middle slot. Mm-hmm. And this was Montrose's third album, Warner Brothers Presents.
Oh, yeah, there's a song on that album that I really love. It's called 20 Flight Rock or something, but it's a great fun song, yeah.
But they were not the same Montrose like the first two albums. They didn't have the same energy, I think.
No, that's true. But and I've read interviews Sammy Hagar's done over years where he talked about the fact that that him and Ronnie Montrose got along all right. But the thing was that Ronnie Montrose kind of had an ego, a lot of people. And he was saying that the band is obviously named after Ronnie Montrose, and he's like, Ronnie didn't like the fact that Sammy was getting more popular than he was. He didn't want anybody to be in the band more popular than him, and that's kind of why he got rid of Sammy. Not because he thought Sammy wasn't a good singer, nothing, but it's kind of funny that somebody, you have that kind of success, and you go and kind of sabotage yourself.
There's some interesting dots to connect. Well, Ted Templeman produced Montrose.
And Van Halen, yeah, of course.
And Van Halen. And then if you look at the Van Halen album cover, the Steeler album cover was modeled after that.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
because they have it's split into 4 quarters, and each one has a different guy in the band.
Yeah.
So it's just ironic observation, but
yeah, wow.
like that.
And so I'd seen, when your wife had first passed, that you were talking about maybe wanting to get involved in something musically. Like, have you ever thought of doing a project of your own, or would you rather join a band that's already in existence?
Well, yes, and come to find out, there really isn't a whole hell of a lot going on in Missouri.
Yeah.
It's really it's hurting for rock.
Yeah.
There's not enough going on here. So
I guess do you have do you have any old demos that you would ever revisit, or maybe try to
Yeah, I've got tons of stuff I'd love to put out, on a CD.
Yeah.
I just don't have the facilities. I'm a little dinosaur when it comes to technology. I don't have the facilities to transfer the tape onto CD, but it needs to be mastered a little bit more. Some of the tapes are a little thin. I got to bring the bass up in them.
Yeah, you and me both, Rick. That's one thing I got to kind of work on. People have been telling me, hey, you got to learn how to do these interviews on Zoom. I have somebody next week going to try to kind of teach me, so we'll see how that goes. But
I've done a few on Zoom. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I've jammed with the biggest, I guess you call it, 80s tribute band in Lower Missouri here is called Machine Gun Symphony. They do 80s party stuff. Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Scorpions. Like that. And I've jammed with them a couple of times, just to network and get my name out there. But the singer, Jay Stevens, Jay's the only other guy in the band besides me that did some time in L.A.
Oh, okay, wow.
So he and I understand the level, the resume level. Mm-hmm. And he says, Rick, he goes, there's nobody in Missouri here like that. He goes, you're gonna freak people out. You're intimidated. It's more of a laid back music scene here.
Oh wow.
There's another 80s tribute band called Members Only. They're an excellent band. They have absolutely no backline. It's all stage monitors, But they're very impressive. They do 80 dates a year, like a touring band, So there's a market for tribute bands here in Missouri. There's just not a lot of clubs.
Yeah. Now, if you were to do a tribute band, Rick, I mean, I think it's a cool idea, the Montrose tribute, for the simple fact that, I mean, I can't think of another Montrose tribute that I've ever even heard of. I think that would be a cool thing to do. What do you think about that prospect?
That's a great question, Jason, and the answer is this. Yeah. There's really not that big of a market for Montrose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When it comes to clubs, it's all about business. Yeah. Well, let me elaborate on that. Yeah. One of the bands I jammed with here, they mixed their set with some 80s stuff with some 90s stuff.
Yeah.
With grunge and Creed and Collective Soul, stuff like that. I said, guys, listen. I watched your videos of you on Facebook. I said, you got women in the audience drinking.
Yeah.
But there's nobody on the floor in front of you. They're sitting down having a conversation. What's wrong? This is where it's going to sound like Gene Simmons. Yeah. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah, because
why are these people having a conversation while you're on stage performing? I said, you got to play material that keeps the girls on the dance floor, that keeps them, thirsty, so that they order from the bar, and the bar is happy, and everybody makes money. It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business, and they said, well, we're going to look at some other bass players. And I went, fine, that's great. I guess that was a little too intense for them, but that's a reality check.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up Gene Simmons, because I recently got a chance to interview him about his Moneybag Soda, and what I found in talking to Gene for the first time ever, he's a super friendly, kind of down-to-earth guy, and he had these 2 other guys that he's doing the soda business with, and online with him, and he was giving the guys that he's working with all the credit. Man, these guys are great. I really couldn't do without him, and that's what I found about him. And even I was talking to him about some other things he's done over the years, and he goes, yeah, but you know what? He goes, even though I'm Gene Simmons, he goes, if I put out a crappy product, it's still crappy. It doesn't. And I thought, wow, that's a real down to earth way of looking at it. You know
the Moneybag story, right?
Yeah, we got into a little bit, but what do you want to tell the people listening to this about that?
The way I hear it is he researched He wanted to use that symbol for Simmons Records.
Yeah.
For his own label. He researched the company that owns Monopoly and found out that they did not have that symbol registered.
Oh wow,
and he went and registered it, and then sued them retroactively.
Yeah, because I had heard that.
That's huge.
I heard that he also looked into possibly like buying the rights to OJ, or the initials OJ, so that he could do orange juice or whatever. I don't know, but he's just really one of those bright business guys,
He's I guess, at the top of the pyramid when it comes to entrepreneurial spirit. He's one of the top guys up there. And he'll look for anything he thinks that money can be made from it. Then that's where you'll find Gene.
And see, he's a true entrepreneur, but also, unlike a lot of entrepreneurs, he's made his living. So even if he was to flop at something, chances are he's not going to lose his fortune. But somebody was also telling me about the Moneybag logo. That dates all the way back to like 1978 when he put out his solo album, and he used to like print up these Moneybag logo like T-shirts and baseball caps, and he'd hand them out to fans and stuff. And so that's how far back that dates back to.
Well, that's once he found out that he could own the patent or the copyright the symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my memory and experience of Gene goes back to '72 when I first met them.
Yeah.
Before they were Kiss.
And you met them like before they ever you saw them without the makeup before anybody else did, right?
Well, yeah, it was just I got to meet them through Peter Criss.
Yeah, that's what you were.
Because I was dating one of his sisters, and when he got the gig with the band, there was no Ace Frehley yet, so it was just Gene, Paul, and Peter rehearsing, and we'd go watch them rehearse at their loft.
Yeah.
So I was young adolescent rocker that I was learning from watching him from the get go.
Yeah, and then you were sharing with me too that I guess my next question regarding Kiss. Knowing the guys from 1972, did you how big of a Kiss fan were did you go out and buy the albums? Do you have a favorite Kiss album?
Well, I remember hearing their album for the first time when it debuted on the radio. It was I think it was WNEW or something like that in FM in New York, and to watch a band go from their early skeleton rehearsals.
Yeah.
And then they go through the process, with each step that they would go through that we were not there for at any given point. Peter's wife Lydia would feed us the information of what their next progress steps were. Mm-hmm. So we were just kind of like on the peripheral, waiting to see what the next thing was. And then they got signed, and of course, and I was there at the Fillmore. I took pictures of them on that big press performance, and I watched their early shows. And then finally the album comes out, and you're sitting home. In my case, I'm sitting home in the basement listening to the first opening strains of Strutter and Nothing to Lose come on the radio, and you kind of feel proud that you were a part of that before anybody else knew what it was.
Yeah.
I see and I read what Kiss fans write today about their first time, their first experiencing Kiss. I know it was much later albums, than the first album. I'm not living vicariously through that, but I know what that feels like because I was there. It happened to me.
Well, you got to remember, Kiss is a band. In 2020, they've been around 50 years. This is 50th anniversary of the band, so they have 5 decades of fans. So that kind of says it all right there. But going back to knowing the band from the very beginning, I mean, even if you look at the evolution of them just visually, like from the cover of the first album, like Paul Stanley's got his bandit makeup, Peter Criss got a little crazier makeup, but that's what I kind of dig about. If you look at old photos, you can see the evolution of the band, and it starts off the makeup is just simple black and white, and then by the time they come out with the story, the makeup's colorized and
it's all polished.
Yeah.
Well, Sean Delaney had a lot to do with that, and he was the fifth member of Kiss, if you will.
Yeah.
He was their road manager. He was their choreographer. He was a songwriter. He really whipped them into shape.
Yeah, and I don't understand why those first 3 Kiss albums weren't really a hit. Not to really a lie, but if you look at the very first album, to me, you listen to that, it's a totally raw sounding album. To me, that sounds like a band that's just they're very young. They're very hungry. And like Strutter, all those songs. My all-time favorite probably off that album's got to be Nothing to Lose. I love the fact that you got a little bit kind of a country twangy feel, that you got the piano. It's a little something different for Kiss, but that album overall I think just was really raw.
Yeah, well, they needed airplay. Everything was based off of airplay back then.
Now,
you had to have some formula that was radio friendly. So, Nothing to Lose was an attempt to make it radio friendly.
Yeah, and then you look at like when they added the song "Kissin' Time," which of course was a Bobby Rydell cover.
Right.
What did you think of that song? And I was curious, were you around when they did that kissing contest, or did you remember hearing anything about that?
Yeah, I remember there was several posters that I think that I had for the Kiss contests that they were putting on, and like they're promoting it all across the. It was a great marketing idea. Yeah, Kiss needed, because they were so new to the world at what they were doing. They were looking at very non-traditional, creative marketing approaches to getting their name out there. Which led later on to the lunch boxes and anything anything you could put a logo on, they would sell as merchandise. So and their arrangement of Kissin' Time fit perfectly with them.
I like the way like you have Gene, Paul, and Peter each taking a verse of the song and trading off.
Yeah, they would trade off, and each guy would take a verse. They were doing things that nobody else was doing. And they also had what's his name from Casablanca?
Neil Bogart.
Neil Bogart, thank you. From Buddha Records, and Buddha was a label that put out a lot of really catchy songed bands.
Yeah.
So Neil brought that to the table as far as Kissin' Time sounded like it could have been off of an early Buddha label. Band.
Well, as we've talked in other episodes of the Rik Fox Story, Casablanca also, they had other artists on there, like I know one of your favorite bands, Angel. They had the disco queen Donna Summer. Now moving ahead to like 1979 when they released Dynasty, and they had the big hit with I Was Made for Loving You, which is one of my favorite songs. But what did you think about it when you heard it for the first time?
They're trying to hold on to their audience.
Yeah.
And they're riding the wave of disco, and I think looking back, a lot of them don't like that song, even the guys in the band, but they were doing whatever they could to stay relevant. I saw the Dynasty tour. I was in the front row at Madison Square Garden with those costumes, with the capes and all the colors and like that. A Kiss fan is a Kiss fan is a Kiss fan. And it doesn't matter what they play. I think as long as you're a locked-in fan, you're going to like whatever they do. Yeah,
I mean, again, even among the Kiss fans, there's some snobbery going on, but I'm kind of with you there. Like, that's one of my all-time favorite songs. I Was Made for Loving You, and from what I understand, Paul Stanley's talked over years about the fact that somebody kind of challenged him. Hey, I bet you can write a disco song, so he kind of did it on a challenge, and it came out to be one of the band's biggest hits ever. And they always get into this argument about which was a bigger hit. Beth or I Was Made for Loving You.
It's also pushing at the top of Paul's range there, and some of the notes he's reaching for.
Yeah, and then
you can't do that forever.
Yeah, and then moving ahead a couple of years to 1982, which brings us up to the 40th anniversary of Creatures of the Night. I was curious, were you at all a fan of that album? That's of course the one that featured War Machine and I Love It Loud, and that was like Eric Carr's favorite album he did with the band.
Yeah, there was. I don't like everything they did.
No, that's why I'm asking, kind of, to get your feel.
I like some of the stuff that they did. Yeah, absolutely. War Machine was great. When we got a copy of, this is kind of how there's a strange tie-in here. We got a copy through the guys I had in the band from the band Alien when I reformed Sin. Okay. They brought with them a song that was written by Marty Coopersmith called "We Got Your Rock." Oh. And I know where you're gonna go. I know where you're gonna go with that. Let me finish first.
Yeah, sure.
So that because Alien was doing "We Got Your Rock," Marty Coopersmith wrote it. I was told for Joan Jett as a follow-up to "I Love Rock and Roll," and she turned it down.
Wow.
So there was an all-female band in Long Island called Scarlet Fever, and they were doing the song. When Scarlet Fever broke up, their drummer Roxanne Harlow who was the drummer for Alien, who was also, going out with the bass player for Alien. Alien started doing We Got Your Rock. So when Alien broke up and they came out west and reformed Sid with me by, natural progression, now we started doing We Got Your Rock. And we were doing, the Alien version of it. Mm-hmm. When it came time to put that on our demo, on our album master demo, that was one of the songs Dana Strum wanted us to do.
Oh, okay.
He saw the potential of that song. Yeah. That when you listen to it now, it kind of sounds like a little bit like what is that? The Kiss song, "Loud." I don't hear it loud.
Yeah, that's it. I love it loud. I love it loud.
Yeah, we got your our version of "We Got Your Rock" sounds like it could have been on a Kiss album with Loud.
Yeah, I love it loud. That's the song.
And then Dana Strum calls up Ace Frehley's manager on the phone one night at the studio. We're at the studio there, and he's got George Stewart on the other line. He goes, George, I want you to hear this. This song is going to kick your ass. And he puts on our cut of
We Got
Your Rock.
Yeah.
And George freaked on the other end of the line. He goes, Ace is doing that song. Then he goes, yeah, I know. He goes, what do you think of ours? He goes, it kicks the shit out of Ace's. He goes, now we have to hurry up and get it out before you get your version out.
Here's another funny thing that just came to my mind as you're telling that story. If you go and listen to the very first Vinnie Vincent album, there's a song that Vinnie does a duet with Robert Fleischman called "Back on the Streets." And Ace has a lot of demos you can probably find online, like on YouTube. Ace Frehley even did a version of the Vinnie Vincent song "Back on the Streets," I think with Richie Scarlett singing it. But he just released it as a demo. But I'm like, that's another one. I wonder, how did Ace get a Vinnie Vincent track?
I don't know. I haven't heard. I wasn't privy to that story.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You see how all these dots interconnect with each other.
Yeah. Wow.
Based on key people. So.
Yeah. And so, Rick, before we wrap it up for today, let me ask you. Last time we did this, I think you were telling me, and Ron Keel announced this too online, that he's putting out some kind of Ron Keel compilations called Keel World or something, like a series of CDs, and mentioned that you're going to be on that. Have you heard any more about that?
A little bit, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, because we have some stuff to promote before we sign off.
Of course, yeah.
I talked to Ron recently a couple of times, and there is plans to do some Steeler material. I don't know how many songs, if it's one or more. I don't know what all the arrangements are yet. I'm waiting for him to burn me something on a CD, some basic tracks, so I can throw my bass onto it and see what I can write. And Ron, in his inimitable Ron Keel humor, goes, "Hey man, Rick, it's a Steeler song. One string, dun 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 dun." That's Ron likes to bust my chops and tease me with that. But,
yeah. Now while we're on,
it's nice that he's acknowledged the fact. He goes, "You're a much better player now than when you were in Steeler. So I really want you to put your heart and soul into it," and which I promised I would. So there is going to be some Steeler material coming up, and then. He's also got some plans in the works that I'm not at liberty to reveal.
I understand, but
about the upcoming Rockin' Pod Festival in March.
We'll leave it at that. Yeah.
So he's planning some really big shebang.
And before we move on, Rick,
I'm going to have a lot of it. We're going to be doing material off the Steeler album.
Okay, before we move on, Rick, I want to ask you one question because I seen just a couple days ago you posted something in reference to Steeler. I think it might have been on our Chaotic Riffs Exposed page about the fact that your drummer from Steeler, Mark Edwards, I know who's no longer plays, but you're talking about the fact that he helped you convince how important it is to have I guess what the key to having a successful rhythm section, how important that is. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, you saw that? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, when I got into Steeler, I was already a seasoned player. I was playing the Jersey circuit for many years, and I didn't pay that much attention to the rhythm section. I don't have to say we're sloppy, but nothing like that. I mean, you learn the songs off the records and you go play them live. You're essentially a live jukebox, like Twisted Sister, a lot of the bands were back in Jersey. we never really sat down and made it a subject where we talk about the timing and rhythm section and all of that. We just played it like it was on the record. It wasn't until I got in a room with Mark Edwards, or Mark said, "Listen, here's as a drummer, I'm the metronome, I'm the meter." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "Here's the beat. Here's ahead of the beat. Guys play sometimes ahead of the beat. Here's behind the beat. Here's laying back a little bit. Be a little bit lazy on the beat." So he actually was the first one to bring that to my attention, and we would then rehearse the Steeler, the material that would be on the first album. Just Mark and I would rehearse that by ourselves, just drums and bass.
Mm-hmm.
I'd never done that before.
Oh wow!
I'd always rehearse with a full band. So now you're I don't want to say forced. That's not the right word, but you're concentrating on actually listening to what the drummer is doing, what that kick, that right foot is doing.
Yeah.
Where the meter is, where the beat is, what is the language that the drummer is saying.
Wow.
In his drum world talk.
Yeah. That
needs to be connected with the bass player, and where you complement each other like wheels, like teeth in a gear wheels.
Oh wow!
You see, you become this integrated machinery, and that was the first time that anyone has ever actually pointed that out to me, and that opened my frequency, my world of listening, to really paying attention to what a drummer is saying.
Wow.
And so we really honed in on that a lot, and so Mark and I would rehearse, an hour or two, just bass and drums.
Wow.
And then we take a break, and then Ron would come in, or in the case of when you got Malmsteen, Ron and Yngwie would come in, and then we would play as a band.
Wow.
You see, so I'm indebted to Mark for actually bringing that up to my attention and teaching me about that.
And it obviously stuck with you all these years, because the fact that you even took the time to note it on our page, I thought that's pretty cool. We got to find out about that.
Yeah, well, I'm that kind of person. Anybody that has that kind of a positive influence on me, I'm going to be sure to carry that around with and share that with the rest of the world. Credit is due where credit is due, and I know I don't always receive my fair share of it. Yeah. But that doesn't stop me from sharing credit that other people have brought into my life.
See, that's what I dig about talking to a guy like you, Rik, is that a lot of people, they just kind of are all into talking the crap and not like giving, like you say, giving credit due where credit is due, and so you want to kind of do both,
I've come to live learned and lived the mantra that success is measured by how much value you bring to another person's life.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about at the end of the day. It's not the money, it's not the this, it's not the that. All those other things are great, but when you can bring that positive difference in somebody else's life, then that's what it's all about at the end of the day. That's what it really means.
I think I'll share this with people before we wrap it up for today. Part of it, I had interviewed you a number of times in the past, and part of the reason we, at least I got the idea to do this thing we've been doing, we're now on the 7th episode of the Rik Fox Story, is I kind of realized, okay, Rik Fox, you got I jokingly said the legendary Rik Fox, I think, in the first episode, and it was because you're one of these guys that you're kind of like an interesting little footnote in rock history. One of those guys, people probably have heard the name Rik Fox, but they don't know where they've heard it. But if you take the time to go read the Wikipedia, you'd find out there's a lot. I mean, I bet you never thought that talk about your life in 7 episodes or something like this,
And it's funny you say that, because online I see some of the comments where people go, "Jesus, for as much as this guy's done, how come he never made it?" Like, quotes, made it. Like, being successful, multi-albums, multi-tours. They say, what's the disconnect? What is the problem? Why has Rik Fox not gotten further in his career than he has?
And what I would say to those people, Rik, is this: that I'm not a musician myself. I'm a music fan. Like a lot of people listen to this, they can tell. Like, you're a Montrose fan, I'm a Deep Purple fan, so we have that in common. But here's the thing: like, I would never say something like that, because for simple fact, I'd say, okay, well, like, wow, this guy just told me, he's had encounters with Jack Russell and Eric Carr, some of my heroes. How do you have stories like that you can tell? I don't think so. So again, and again, success is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, to me, the fact that you might not have ever played a lick on a Wasp album, but how many people can say they were in in a professional band like that, even for a second, to even be able to put that on your resume and think, okay, this guy's got some caliber of musicianship to at least, and then Steeler, like you were also posting on my page the other night that, at one point Steeler had, I forget how you worded it, the most successful debut album or something like that. I mean,
that was the highest selling independently released metal album.
I mean, that's a pretty impressive thing right there. I mean, and people can bash you and say, well, yeah, at one point, but okay, well, have you ever had the best-selling metal independent album? I don't think so,
You'll always have haters out there that will look for the lowest common denominator to paint on you because they haven't done anything themselves.
Yeah.
And they say, stupid juvenile sandbox comments like, well, the reason Malmsteen left was because Rick couldn't play. I mean, seriously?
Yeah,
look at Malmsteen's career, such as it is. It had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
The level of musicianship really doesn't play into any of these reasons with me. It's 9.5 out of 10 times it comes down to chemistry.
I mean, and here's the thing, Rick. I will be honest with you. Most of these, most time when I interview, musicians from different bands, we get a fair level of hits on our interviews, but not. I'll be honest, it's not a truckload. However, like even when I repost, like in prepping for today's interview, what we're doing, I was reposting some of the interviews you did, so people could kind of check it out if they haven't already. And every time I post one of these interviews I do with you, I mean, like some of them got, and it's for me, it's a lot of hits, like 600 and something hits. So I'm like, okay, somebody's interested in what this guy has to say,
It's funny you say that. Back in, I think it was around, don't quote me on this, my very first online interview, I think it was around 2005.
Yeah.
Was with Full and Blue Music.
Okay, yeah.
And that's the first, I had never had experience with being asked to do something like that. And as it progressed, that interview took several months to culminate because I had never had to draw all of my memory and information and all of these sidebar stories and all these dots to connect. It took me several months to put that interview together. And I think it's probably one of their longest interviews.
Yeah,
I still hear from people how long that interview was, that they enjoyed it because, they loved reading the stories. Yeah. But he said within the first 3 months, you pulled like 40,000 hits on your interview alone.
And so, Rick, we are coming up in like 120, so we're going to have to wrap it up for today. If you want to promote whatever you're going to.
I think the last thing we already discussed that I'm going to be another
Rockin' Pod
featured guest back at the Rockin' Pod in March in Nashville. Weekend of March 17th. I've got some stuff, irons in the fire with Ron Keel.
Okay.
I've got some irons in the fire with Norwegian rocker Stian Thorsen.
Okay.
He's putting together a song he wants me and Vinny Appice to record for his project. And then, of course, what's today's 27th? Yeah. So tomorrow night is when, tomorrow day, is when the Bound for Hell on the Sunset Strip album drops.
Okay.
Then I'm on that, the Sin single, On the Run. Yes, the one that Dana stole and gave to Vinnie Vincent.
Okay, yeah.
That's on the album. There's 21 bands, Black and Blue, Jaded Lady, Leather Angel, Rough Cut, Max Havoc. There's a whole bunch of great bands on there. That drops tomorrow, and there's going to be a listening party at the Rainbow.
Oh, cool.
Tomorrow night, if you can get there, you should try and go there. See maybe you can cover it, for your page.
Okay.
They're gonna have a listening party, and I think we're gonna try and do either, since I can't be there, we may hook up to a Zoom or some kind of live streaming thing where they can talk to me over the phone or whatever, and hook it up so people can hear what I'm saying. When it comes to playing the Sin song On the Run. Like that, and so that's I'm looking forward to that. Ron, there's a Steelers song on it. It was before I was in the band, but Ready to Explode is on there on as well. So these are the things that I've got going on right now. There's some big space and steps between some of these projects. I was hoping to get the gig with Autograph, but I guess that didn't turn out. So
okay, Rick. Well, thanks for that. Could you hold on just for a minute? I want to talk to you off there.
What's that?
Could you hold on for just a minute? I'd like to talk to you off there.
Chaotic Drifts Magazine.